Hey, welcome to the bonus video. If you didn't see the last video, go ahead and check it out. I'll put the link here somewhere or in the description box. This is the full-length version of the Q&A panel that I was in. Actually, funny story. Before we got into the panel, we actually took a short break, and so I just started walking around the student union building over at ISU, and I kind of lost track of time. So, but not too much. When I got back to the conference room, they were already in progress with the panel. I think they had only just asked the first question, so I was like, oh my gosh! So I went over to the table, and they asked me the question that they had already asked everyone else. So the first question is just me giving my answer. They had already given their answer, so enjoy.
Okay. I am Kalen Kong. I live here in Pocatello, Idaho, and I'm a senior at Pocatello High School.
My name is Juan Orozco. I'm 31 years old, and I'm from MacLeod, Idaho.
My name is Heather Ramstone. I'm not going to tell you how old I am. And I live here in Pocatello. And I don't have a fluency disorder, but you guys, most of you know I'm going to soon marry Dr. Hudak, who does. So I guess the perspective of someone. So I'm also a speech language pathologist, certified, but I don't work clinically as a speech pathologist. I'm a researcher. That's what I do. So I have the background education in speech language pathology, but I think I'm more of someone. I think of myself more as someone who is a family member of someone who stutters. So. Who got hoodwinked into sitting here?
Slightly so.
We all, just like these guys.
Are you able to stutter and still be an effective, a good communicator?
Definitely. I mean, especially now that social media has come a long way. There's more than one way to communicate. Not just speaking, you know, you got Facebook, you got Twitter. As far as stuttering, you are able to get your ideas across. I mean, you know, despite the stuttering, I feel. Yeah. It's all about. It's like when you and I met via email, and we were talking about mantras. About how you have to say to yourself, okay, what I have to say is important. People are willing to wait for me to say what I have to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For our next question.
Or are you? Okay then. What has worked for you and your stuttering or your soon-to-be spouse's stuttering?
You know, like I said before, you know, get help, you know, get help and get, you know, work at it, you know, just, you know, and just seeing what works and not works, and not just trying to, you know, improve, you know, every day. And every day is you go out into the job or school or whatever. It's an adventure. We'll see how far we can go. Push ourselves every day. You go out there and do it. You know, just be there in the moment. You know. So, but yeah, that, you know, so that's, you know, just have confidence. You know, be positive. You know. You know, that's pretty basic. You know, you gotta have, you know, look. You gotta think different. You know, about stuttering, because if you think that is stutter as your enemy, but it's gonna bring you down and keep you there. You know, but if you think it's maybe it's your strength, not your weakness. You know, now that opens the whole, you know, door of opportunities. You know, life is different from that point. You know, it's not tough. It's not hard. You know, it's, yeah. So yeah.
So Oh, I'm actually probably not supposed to refer Aiken here. However, you have a very interesting experience as far as your type of therapy that you have had, and the eye-opening experience, the aha moment that you had with therapy. Also, I think that'd be a very beneficial story to say if you're okay with saying it.
So I'm not from here, you know. You can tell I have an accent, right? I'm from Chile, so I was born in Chile.
I had no idea.
You know, I came to the state when I was 18. I came in, you know, I didn't know no English, nothing. So when I came at that time, I mean, so it's pretty bad, you know. It was very rough, you know. Started speaking to anybody, it was pretty rough. So I went and got help, you know. Get help, you know. Being in the States, you know, America, right, you know, best medicine in the world, you know, why not, you know. So I get there and it was a female therapist. I'm not gonna say where because that doesn't matter. And she said to me, you know, that was, you know, I was 18 years old. She said to me that I was too old for once. My study was too advanced, and I spoke way too fast, so there was nothing that, you know, she could do for me, you know, it was my help. So, you know, so that was pretty much what she said to me. So for the next 7 years of my life, you know, it was pretty hard, you know, to be, you know, on the phone or, you know, just anywhere, you know, talking to people, you know, it was just, you know, it was, you know, pretty rough. So then 7 years went by, and I asked my wife, you know, this is too much, you know, I can't go with this, you know, this is, you know, gotta have a life too, you know, I can't hide from society, hide from everything, and being social with people, I can't do it anymore. So that time I was staying in New York, and I went and got help. I found this guy, and from the first visit, you know, we talked about my own experience, you know, what happened to me and what I saw. And he said to me, you know, Andres, he said, I cannot take this other away from you, you know. I cannot do that, you know. Nobody can, I don't think. But he said to me, but I can give you the tools that you need to get by every day, you know. I can give you, you know, therapy, you know, work with you, you know. I can do that for you. And he also said to me that we as therapists, we never say to our patients, you know, that it's not hope for you, you know. We just don't say that, you know. It's not true. There's always something that can be done. You know, what about therapy? Do something. Don't just say, you know, you're too old for it, sorry, you can. So that, from that moment on, you know, my life changed, you know, and you know, I gained confidence, you know, okay. And so we worked for about 6 months straight, you know, every week, and work with my muscles, relaxation, breathing, and all that stuff, and just gain confidence, and, you know, look at it being a weakness anymore, but, you know, it's strength. Maybe you can just turn around. You know. So yeah, so that, you know, changed my life. So, you know, and then I thought, you know, how many people go through that same thing, like patients like us, but when we go get help, and, you know, we've been told, you know, sorry, either you're too old or just it's too much. Think about challenge for we can, you know, I wondered about that. So that's why I decided to do that, you know, speak about being a starter to, you know, to you guys, people that are speech therapists, because I feel that it's a lot more to be done. That you can know as much as we can from you feedback, because, you know, and I'm trying to be rude or anything, but if you're a nice stutter, you know, you have no idea, you know. But you know what works and not works. You know. So I feel like you to learn is much from us than learn from you. They go both ways. Either way, you know, you have to have that. You know, be humble to learn from somebody else. You know. So yeah, that's that. So.
So going along with what he was saying, one of the recurring themes that I've seen throughout the workshops today is confidence. You can learn all the theory that you want and, you know, techniques and whatever, but without the right attitude, you know, you can't really make it that far. So just you know, just working on your self-confidence and just putting yourself out there. And it's you know, it's easier said than done. But I found that for me, it's been a big help. You know, just knowing, just being comfortable with the stuttering. It doesn't have to run your life. You know, I mean, if there's help out there, like if there are new techniques out there, you know, great. But work inside of yourself, emotionally. Yeah, just.
Okay, the non-stutterer. You know, something that I see over and over again is speech therapists who try to eliminate the fluency disorder, and that is not realistic. So one thing that I see Dr. Hudak do over and over again is provide or try to provide individuals with an opportunity to realize that you can accept the speech disorder, but it's not only about accepting the speech disorder and becoming more comfortable with it, but it's also about, you know, providing, one of you said something about tools, and that's been my recurring thing all day. It must be my word of the day. Where, you know, some of you are parents of kids who have fluency disorders, so for you and for the therapists out there, it's not only about the treatment methods. It's also about kind of empowering these kids to realize that, sure, they might have something that might be difficult, but that, you know, and to accept the speech disorder and give them methods to try to enhance fluency or decrease stuttering, or however you want to look at it, but realize that those methods are not always going to be the answer. So what do they do when they come across an instance where they're having a difficult time speaking? You know, what can they say to someone who, you know, is giving them a hard time, a peer or whoever it is? You know, talking about different scenarios like that, it's important. It's not all about just trying to eliminate the fluency disorder, because that's not always realistic, right?
Yeah, you know, I think parents, a lot of time, they want a solution to begin. Want my kid to not stutter anymore. You know, just fix it, find a way to get it fixed, and didn't want to live with it. Why not live with it? And just, you know, like myself, I know that I'm gonna stutter for the rest of my life, you know, and I'm okay with that. But you know what? It's a journey, you know, adventure. You go there, you know, and I know that life is nice, and to be a stutter on top of that sometimes even worse, you know. Society has been misunderstood, you know, being a stutter, because, you know, they don't get it. So the least I can do is have fun with it, you know, look at it that way, you know, have fun with it. You know, if our freedom is starts as soon as we let it out, somehow you sing your way through it, You yell, you scream, but you have to let it out. Otherwise, like, it's gonna suffocate you because there's too much information. You should let it in, and it's heavy, because it's heavy. It's a heavy burden you carry for years and years. And that's gonna make it start worse. So you have to find a way to let it out, So that's, yeah.
Okay. Well, with my experiences, I had always kind of had an acceptance of my stutter, which is important for everybody. But when I went and worked with Dr. Udok, what I found out is that when he taught me some of the techniques and gave me the tools to deal with my stuttering when it became a problem, it increased my confidence. And as my confidence increased, the stuttering decreased as well, not only because of the tools, but also the new confidence that I had gained, knowing that if it does come up, I can deal with it. Also, with some of an important thing is to put yourself in some situations that make you uncomfortable, as I believe that he has said, and which we did. We went out and we talked to complete strangers, and at first my stuttering was pretty bad with it, but as I got more comfortable with that situation, more comfortable with some of the tools to deal with my stuttering, it decreased even more. So I think that putting yourself out there, getting more comfortable with situations, as well as gaining some tools to deal with it, really increases one's confidence with their stuttering, and that will help overall with it.
So, and also, what advice would you give professionals who work with people who stutter as a person who stutters or a spouse?
Well, definitely not just focusing on the actual stutter itself, but with the attitude of with having a good, healthy attitude about stuttering as well, and also the real world scenarios, getting outside of your comfort zone. That's a big one right there, because like I was saying, you can learn all the theory you want, but unless you put it in a real world setting, it might not really work that well.
You guys that are speech therapists want to be one, don't ever say to somebody that there's no hope for you. Don't ever say that. It's not true. So it's going to ruin somebody's life. It could. So don't ever say that it's not true. So just tell them that that it's okay to be a stutter, because sometimes that's the first. It's okay to be a stutter. Nothing wrong with that. Don't be ashamed of it, and just work at it. But that's who defines you. Is who the stutter is who I'm a father, and I'm a worker, and everything that I am. I'm a stutter person. That's how my life begins. So from that point, I'm a stutter, and that's how it began. From that, it's your foundation. Stuttering is not.
Well, going off of what he just said as well, that you can always help someone, even if it was someone like me who was okay with their stutter and it wasn't really a problem with them. I didn't really think that it could get any better, but when I went and worked with Dr. Udok, he was able to help me, and it has reduced my stuttering even more than it was before. So you can always help someone with their stutter, no matter how bad it is or no matter how mild it is. You can always help.
I have a lot of things that I want to say, but I don't really know what to say. Some of the best things that I see happening are, this whole part of getting out of your comfort zone. And realizing that if you're working with someone in the clinic, that's often a very comfortable setting for them, because they see you there on a regular basis and they form and establish a relationship with you and become comfortable with you. Well, change it up a little bit, because they're not always going to be comfortable, and that's more often than not when it's going to be difficult for them to speak. Yes?
Yes.
So that's one thing, but education is a big piece. It's not only about the child you're working with or the individual you're working with. It's about who they're interacting with in the community and how you can educate them. And family members, how can you educate family members and help them deal with this also? And realizing that, I mean, it's just a really hard thing. I think, you know, in February, we talked about this at our little table earlier. Dr. Hudak did the winter symposium or something for speech therapists in the area and students who are speech therapists, and he had someone get up and speak without saying the letter M. Okay? And I don't know if any of you can think about it, but if you weren't here, so right now, I will try to talk without saying that letter. It's not easy, okay? So I'm going to stop that. It's really not easy. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of thought on my part. Dan, it blows my mind when he's fluent, because he's very disfluent. He's a pretty severe stutterer, okay? For those of you who, I mean, but he can be completely fluent. He can be 100% fluent. He knows the strategies, right? He's learned them. He was in therapy all his life growing up, and he's a speech therapist, okay? But it takes so much effort to use those strategies. So it's a good way to think about, you know, what a person who has a speech or language disorder might be going through, to try to do something like that where, you know, oftentimes students of speech therapy are told to do a pseudo-stuttering experiment or scenario where they go and they try to stutter or force themselves to stutter for a day. And yeah, that's really hard also, but I mean, I feel like almost taking a letter out of your alphabet really takes a lot of brain power. It's very difficult to do, and that's kind of like what individuals who stutter and are trying to speak fluently go through, right? They have to think about what they're doing a lot, and it's exhausting. So Dan chooses not to use his strategies, right?
Absolutely.
For the most part?
Well, on occasion I do.
Yeah.
It's not that I just completely stutter all the time. I'm very accepting of my stuttering, and it's okay to stutter. For anyone who stutters in here, for speech pathologist families, it's okay to stutter. Stuttering is not a bad thing. It means you're comfortable, you're being yourself, you're not trying to implement all these exhausting, effortful strategies. You're being yourself, and being a natural, effective communicator is much more effective than being fluent.
Yeah. So that's a very important thing to remember for parents and for future speech therapists and for current speech therapists. It's not, and this is just what I was saying earlier, it's not just about the strategies.
Okay, so the next thing we have here is, what do you wish people knew about stuttering?
You can't rush it, you know. Society always, come on, spit it out, speak out, spit it out.
Or slow down, just slow down, and you'll be able to say
don't
it.
try to hurry up. And that is the worst thing ever. It doesn't work that way, you know. So you know, just being educated in society, to be more aware, how it works. Somebody who stutters, or don't rush it. Just said, take your time. I'm right here. Things like that are very helpful. Because otherwise, if you like always like rushing me, come on, let's spit out. I'm gonna give up and I'm gonna limit myself. I'm gonna just say less because it's not worth it, because they don't have patience enough for me to wait instead of my way through. There's impatience. I'm just gonna wait, stay back and just so that's what happens. You have to have, it's just be patient with it and just know how to handle somebody who stutters. I think society is a bit misunderstood, by being a stutterer in general. Yeah. You have no idea. Some do, but some don't. So,
I think it's just, well, the question was, what do I want people to know about stuttering?
Exactly.
But I think overall awareness is important, because like when I was younger, I would get teased about whenever I got stuck on a word, and just letting them know, hey, I'm a stutterer. This is I have to live with this, and just from that they were like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I had no idea. So it's not just yeah, that other stuff goes along with it also, but in society there is an ignorance about stuttering, and ignorance is not a lack of intelligence. It's a lack of knowing, of having knowledge of that which has yet to be learned. So just making them aware that it does exist, it is out there, and that alone will help them to understand. Oh, okay, I should give you more time to finish your thought.
I don't really have anything more to add. I think that they've pretty much summed up what people need to know, that there needs to be more awareness along with just more information on how it works to dispose patients.
Okay, so what advice would you give parents or family members about stuttering?
Well, I see a lot sometimes about parents do sometimes they panic so much, they freak out so much that they may start to worse for the kid, because they're like, oh, my kid stutters, and what are we gonna do and all that stuff. So they're shelter the kids in a bubble, because they don't want the kid be judged by society and be judged. So they shelter them in a bubble. They keep them there, like instead of going to get help, they do the opposite. And sometimes parents are the worst, because they don't know how to handle it. They think it's the worst thing ever to happen to their kid. But it's not really that bad. What we're talking about. So sometimes parents have no idea how to handle that, and sometimes they go the other way, and it's make it worse for the kid. See that line, and it's shame. Why you do that? Why for the kid? It's making it worse for the kid.
Yeah, about the bubble. Yeah. It is a parent's nature to want to be protective of your kids, but eventually they do grow up, and the real world is out there waiting for them. And so the best thing you can do as a parent is to just help them to find their own voice, to make them more confident and accepting of their stutter, and just reassure them that no matter what, you love them and that you're there for them.
Probably one thing that it would be, some things that it would be important for parents to know, that probably the most important thing is that the person who stutters is accepting of it. They're okay with it. That is probably the most important thing for parents to know. Also, that most likely if someone does stutter, they will continue to stutter their whole lives. That it's not something that can be gotten rid of completely. And also that a professional speech therapist can help.
Okay, so parents' perspective. Dan and I talk about this. In addition to being faculty members and speech therapists and whatever we are, we're also about to get married, and we do hope to have a family someday. I'm saying this because there's a lot of our students in the room. It's a different side that we don't usually talk with students about, but you know, it's a very real possibility that we could have a child who stutters someday. Dan stutters, his brother stutters, his mother used to stutter. I have family members, a nephew who stuttered for a short, a cousin who stuttered for a very short period of time. Some people grow out of fluency disorders. Some people don't. It's something that Dr. Hudak fears greatly, having a child with a fluency disorder. And that's a side that also blows my mind, a side of him that kind of just, it's hard to grasp because he's someone who's very well-spoken, very outspoken, very outgoing, never lets anything stop him, but in reality, stuttering is not something that's easy to deal with, and even he experiences that. So, you know, being the person who's always done everything and never been held back by their fluency disorder, it always kind of, you know, I actually pause over the fact that he fears something. Oh my gosh, what? It's like a no fear kind of person. But, you know, I can only hope that someday, if we do have a child with a fluency disorder, we can try to instill those qualities in the child that he has. And that's, you know, they're not afraid to speak, even if speaking might be difficult. And also along with that acceptance and reality of the challenging, the fact that speaking is challenging, you know, give them some means of coping with the fluency disorder, if they have a fluency disorder, that they can try to use to try to enhance their fluency, but also just making them realize that it's okay. It doesn't have to hold them back from anything, and trying to educate people. Because I think what you said was really cool about ignorance not meaning, you know, you're dumb, or however you said it, but it just means you haven't been educated on a certain topic, or you don't know about something. You know, that's true, and you know, while people might be very, very smart in so many different realms, it doesn't mean they know everything. And, you know, we have to spread the word that there are differences. Oh my gosh.
So, we actually also have time for a couple of questions. If anyone out here has any questions. Absolutely, yeah.
Hendrix, I was wondering, when you learned to speak English, I assume that you were a little bit more disfluent because you were concentrating so hard on kind of translating. Does your fluency or disfluency become much worse now when you speak English as
No,
opposed to Spanish?
no, it became better. English is very helpful to me. Became because in Spanish, we believe that is speaking Spanish, we speak a lot faster. Because I speak English, so English became like a therapy in a way for me, and it made me slow down a bit, and it's just, different language was easier to study. Not as bad as in Spanish.
I can actually speak to that as well. I am bilingual. Yeah, I was born and raised here in Idaho, but I am Mexican, and so I do find myself in situations where I do have to speak Spanish. And when you speak Spanish, this, you do tend to speak faster, which can kind of trip you up. So actually, at my house, my parents speak to me in Spanish, and I answer them back in English. Yeah.
So then I have a piggyback question, Andres. In Chile, we're like fluency disorders or stuttering, was it perceived in a very different way than it is, let's say, here in the
States?
States?
Some people look as a handicap. Someone says, because just law, whatever. I think it's same everywhere.
Okay.
People judge you for everything. As people are society is harsh, so you gotta be harsh back to them. You can't let it otherwise you cannot keep you down and leave you there because society so them don't know how to handle it. Anywhere is the same thing.
When people find out that you stutter, do they ask you if you're in therapy? And does that offend you when they ask you that?
I haven't got that kind of like experience. I haven't had that experience for me.
No.
Okay. Can't have that.
No, I haven't come across that myself either. They'll just say, "Oh, I kind of had an idea that you stuttered, but okay, yeah, now that okay."
Yeah, no, I haven't had that.
Yeah.
Like Juan was saying, he stuttered.
Yeah, I've had the exact same experience when if someone does pick up that I stutter, they say something along those lines, but I've never been asked if I've been in therapy.
No, I don't.
My experience with Dr. Hudak is simply that, when we interact with adults that don't know us, it's usually, say, at a restaurant where we're ordering food, and 9 times out of 10, well, maybe not 9 times out of 10, 5 times out of 10, the person might think he's joking and laugh, and therefore he'll have to explain that he stutters, and sometimes they still think he's joking and continue to laugh, which is a really, really hard scenario. But outside of that circumstance, the person who's going to mention something and ask about it is the child, which is always really interesting. Anytime we're around a child, the children will say something. You get stuck when you talk, but of course children don't necessarily know to ask about therapy, right? I've never heard anyone ask him that, adult or child, but people don't come right out. In my experience, people don't necessarily come right out and say something. It's more like you hear it, you realize it, and you hold back. That's what I perceive, which could be wrong. But kids will say things. But from a very innocent perspective. That's refreshing. Because, for me, I don't know what it's like for someone who stutters. But for me, it's like the kid lays it out there for you, and then it's done with. The kid's like, oh, okay, you get stuck when you talk. Cool. Let's go on with our life. Okay, where, if you're speaking to an adult that you don't know, it either becomes a big, awkward experience, or you ignore it, but you realize it, or, you know, it's just uncomfortable. So just be a kid. Get out there.
And I just want to say from a parent's perspective, I've gotten the opposite. People hear Hamilton stutter, and then they personally ask me, I notice he stutters, are you getting him some help? So I'm questioned a lot about my son.
Do we have any other questions?
Yes.
I forgot your name. Is orange shirt?
Oh, Caitlin?
So you said that you know, you were pretty accepting of your stuttering. So what? I'm just curious, what made you decide to to go there?
It was my mom. She thought my stuttering was a much bigger problem than it actually was. She actually thought that I had been emotionally damaged by my stutter. So.
Question of Caleb, right? How did you decide then, or I guess not decide, but how did you become so accepting? Because you're not that old, and Dr. Hudak talked about how it's such a process to become accepting of your stuttering. How, you know, at such a young age, do you feel like you were able to be so accepting kind of early?
I think part of it is that even at its worst, I had a very mild stutter. It wasn't a huge issue with me. At most, I would have to maybe rearrange my sentences sometimes or choose a different word. But I just figured I stutter, and that's okay.
Well, I'd like to thank our panel for participating and giving us So thank you. Sit there if you want, or free to run off with you. So please, whenever you want.